recording, just para que sepan, just so you know. Y hola, buenos días. Es la introducción. Today is the introduction. And so, of course, part of today will be kind of, like business, right? Figuring out what to do. And the thing that you had mentioned, Shalise, about CDs is a no-brainer. So now don't even worry about that. Muy bien. Bueno, me llamo Marilyn. Y vamos a comenzar con el español. We're going to begin with Spanish today. It's going to be kind of a cleanup thing, figuring out what materials you need, what websites you'll kind of regularly go to look at assignments, etc. So we'll start with the book, con el libro. Sí, este es el libro. I probably had about 6 different classes use this book, and hand down, everybody seems to like it for an absolute beginner starting from nothing. It is not a traditional grammar book. So there are CDs to use with it. We're going to talk about that in a second. The CDs are really great. Well, the CDs, I'm going to call them audio clips from now on. They're really audio clips you're going to use. They're great because every time you get things in blue, all the audio links will show you how all of those things are pronounced so that you'll hear as you read along. Okay. This usually helps because everybody is different in terms of how they best learn. But they have done a lot of scientific studies on how people acquire language. 75% of the human population, no matter who you are, no matter where you're from, 75% of the population is predominantly visual learners. Well, that's a problem with speaking, because really a much smaller number of us are purely audio learners. There are some people who are. And the other category is people who can only learn by like hands-on doing stuff. But we're all like that. We all learn by hands-on doing stuff. And we'll do quite a lot of that in class as well. So the nice thing about the audio clips that are connected with the book is that you get that audio component with the visual together, which is usually a good, hey, the light starts to click and things start to turn on. So this is a little bit less traditional in that it is not purely grammar based. I'll do a lot of fill-in where I feel that you need that. And you're always free to ask any questions here and there. I am going to share a screen to show you how you download that audio. So check it out, what you will do, because almost nobody's got a CD player anymore. Some people have them in their cars, and even those are going, right? Everything's streaming. Okay, this is streaming too. What you will do is you will go to, I am highlighting it way at the top, livinglanguage.com. Okay, pretty simple. No spaces, no capitals, all lowercase. livinglanguage.com at the top. And actually, I'm going to send you in the link for the week. These directions as well. You'll go to where it says support, which is up upper right hand corner, and support takes you to this page. How can we help you? You scroll on down. Oh, downloads, ding ding ding. Here's the magic place. Click on downloads, and what you're going to do is it will ask you to select a language. Well, that one's pretty much a no-brainer. We're going to click on Spanish, and boom, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There are the 3 CDs. There they are. So you just download each one. So chapters 1 through 4 are in the first download, chapters 5 through 9 in the second, and then 9 and 10. 9 and 10 we'll probably use, well, I don't know, hopefully we'll use all of that. Kind of depends. Some of my class sessions are shorter. Summer is a nice long session, so we may get to everything in 9 and 10. The third one has a lot of dialogues as well, because the back of the book has some dialogues. Okay, so that's how you find that. Yeah, no need for a physical CD, really, although some people do like them. But, you know, whatever works for you is good. Some people like to take the CDs out and still rip them. Some people don't have a tray to put a CD in their computer anymore. I don't anymore. I actually feel a little sad about that, but that's the way of the world. Okay. I will ask by next week that you go through chapter 1. Okay. You don't need to have gone through chapter 1 by now. That isn't necessary at all. It is going to sound like a lot to say, wow, go through a whole chapter, but you know, it is a number of pages, but it goes kind of quickly, and there's a lot of kind of empty space for you to write things in. So it's not like reading dense texts to go through one chapter. I would actually even give you the first 2 chapters, but with the other things I'm going to give you, I think that might be a little overload, and I don't want to overload people. Okay, la segunda cosa, second resource, which is a really super thing I want you to do. And this is like total freebie. If you haven't used it yet, you can see it on the screen. This is Duolingo. Duolingo.com, which comes as either, you can get it as an app-based. I don't like the app base as much as the web base. That's just my preference. I feel the app base is kind of greedy, needy, and asks you to do lots of stuff and begs you to keep going back and reminding you and annoying you. So that's my preference. But Duolingo is a great thing to use. It is free. I would not pay for the monthly fee on it at all. The reason it is really nice is that when you tell it what language you want, up here with the little flags, you can go through various lessons at your own pace. So it is a great way, Duolingo is a great way to acquire a lot of very simple vocabulary very quickly. The other reason it is super great is that it's got the audio component. It's got a speaking component where it will ask you to speak, although I will caution you, artificial intelligence with recognizing your speech and tagging it as, wow, this is accurate, or, ooh, this isn't so good, is still kind of, it's getting better, but it's not perfect. So sometimes it will tell you you are wrong, even though you really did say it right. Sometimes it will tell you you are right when you really messed it up. Go figure. But it does combine, Duolingo does combine a lot of listening comprehension, which is really good, a lot of vocabulary, which is truly awesome, and a little bit of speaking, which is just kind of fair to middling. So, okay, do go to Duolingo, and I would say just do it at your own pace. If you want to do 5 minutes a day, all good. You want to do 10 minutes a day? Great. You want to do 15 minutes a day? Great. You can pick however much time you want. And it makes it, it kind of gamifies it to a certain extent. So definitely always, I would say, try to do at least 5 minutes minimum. 10 would be a little bit better every day. And just let it carry through and just click on each little segment. And you'll start to acquire a lot of vocabulary very quickly. And it repeats a lot of vocabulary, and repetition with a language, as you guys probably know, is always super important. The other site I will show you. Un momentito. Because people always want a dictionary. I don't know about you. I remember carrying around great big heavy dictionaries when I was, well, because I'm old. And that's what I had. But this reference here is called wordreference.com. So when you want to look up a word, because in the coming weeks, at some point, you will want to do that. There's no real reason to get a dictionary. Wordreference.com, you tell it what language you want to plug in, that you want to go from English to Spanish or Spanish to English, you know, lo que sea, whatever it may be. And the reason that wordreference.com is so wonderful is that, I'm gonna pick out a word to define here. I'm gonna take a real generic word, take, because this shows you how good it is. Take is gonna have all these things come up. So the great thing about wordreference.com, besides that it is a really good online dictionary, is that it shows you not just the word or not just many different words, because sometimes there are synonyms. It'll tell you what words are used in different countries from time to time, whether it's Latin American or Spain. It will also show you how that word is used in context. And the reason that's important is that sometimes you got a word like take, and by take, do you mean grabbing something? Do you mean picking it up and moving it to a different place? By saying take, do you mean that you're taking something away? The little examples will show you all those different, you know, how each word is used. So if what you mean is take away, you can figure out that word versus take meaning just grab something, okay? Also, the word take is very, very dangerous because there's a wonderful word here in yellow that is used only in Spain, but don't ever use it anywhere in Latin America because it's the big F-bomb. And yeah, people use it all the time in Spain. Cojo el autobús. I'm grabbing the bus, I'm taking the bus. And if you use that word in Latin America, people will give you the look. Yeah, because cojo el autobús is the big F-bomb with bus, which, you know, yeah. And Spaniards do make that mistake when they vacation in Latin America. Although, you know, people look at them and know they're native speakers, and then they're like, oh, you're one of those people. And they understand. So, okay, there are your references. Hay preguntas. Any questions there? Sí o no?
No.
Nada? Okay, vale, magnífico. Okay, so those are our really, really simple intros. We're going to start with, we're going to start with some greetings. Because that's a lot of what is in your first chapter. Today, I hope to cover greetings and a lot of basics with pronunciation, which will help you because Spanish is very phonetic and there are going to be very uniform rules where when you hear a word or you say a word, you're going to know how to pronounce it right away. So those are the two things I want to make sure that I cover today with you guys. And always, always, always feel free to interrupt me when you have a question. Okay. Vamos a empezar. We're going to start. Vamos a empezar con cómo se dice en español. How do you say these things in Spanish? ¿Cómo se dice? When you want to ask me, how do you say something? This is how you will ask me. ¿Cómo se dice? ¿Cómo se dice? Repitan, por favor. ¿Cómo? ¿Cómo? You can say it. ¿Cómo?
¿Cómo
Se
se
dice.
dice?
¿Cómo se dice? Now, when you say it fast, it's going to all run together. ¿Cómo se dice? ¿Cómo se dice? How does one say? How do you say? Not you, Shalise, or you, Roger, you as the individual, but how does one say? How do you in general say? ¿Cómo se dice? ¿Cómo se dice en español? Whenever you want to ask me, I would like you to use that. ¿Cómo se dice? You've got a word you want to know. That's how you ask me. Vamos a empezar. We're going to begin. Vamos a empezar con saludos. Saludos y despedidos. Hellos and goodbyes. Hellos and goodbyes. Greetings. Okay. You're going to get a long video to watch as part of the homework on greetings because it is really, really super comprehensive. I'll play probably only a little small portion of it for you today. But it is going to give you a lot of the ins and outs, and it will give you a really complete introductions to greetings, because that's one of the first things that we always do, which is why I've got my schmaltzy little name tag. Remember the days of business meetings with name tags? Yeah, I remember those days. We're not going back to them yet. We're going back into them soon, but not quite yet. Okay. Es fácil, es fácil. Do I need to make this a little bit bigger? Un poquito más grande. We're going to try to make this a little bit bigger. Sí, sí, sí. Mucho mejor, much better. Okay. Es fácil. There are lots of ways to greet people. Some of it is dependent on the time of day. Some of it is not. Okay. So very, very simply, hola. Hola is hi. Okay. Just as we have many ways to greet people, they will have many ways to greet people. Whenever you see an H, by the way, H's, unless it is the combination of CH, H's are always silent. Como en francés, like in French. Yeah. You never pronounce an H unless it's a CH combination. Okay. So the H is spelled out in writing, but it is never pronounced. Hola, hola, hi. Hello is the very simple thing. If you want to say good day, oh, but it's got to be morning. Anytime from when you wake up until noon. Here's our greeting. Buenos dias. And the O there is underlined because it is very distinctly an O. That O will change to an A sometimes, you'll see. Buenos dias. Buenos dias. Good day. Good morning. It is literally good day, but it is the way you say good morning. Buenos dias. But you can only say that until noon. Okay. Buenos dias. Buenos dias. And that O is an O because the word day, dias, is actually a masculine word. So you're saying good, masculine plural days. Okay. Anytime from noon till the sun sets, from 12 o'clock noon until the sun goes down, literally, is buenas tardes. Buenas tardes. And there it's not buenos with an O sound, it's buenas with an A sound. Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes is good afternoon until sunset. So people will generally, well, really till summer, people will say this until 7-ish, 8-ish o'clock. That's kind of murky change over time, depending on when your sun sets. Okay, once the sun is down, people use buenas noches. Buenas, again, an A sound in the buenas. Buenas noches. Good evening or good night. It combines for both of those. So, repitan, por favor, buenos días.
Buenos días.
Buenos días. For noon on, buenas tardes. Buenas. Buenas.
Buenas
tardes.
Tardes. Bien. Okay. And for nighttime, after the sun is down, buenas noches. Buenas.
Buenas
noches.
noches.
Muy bien. Okay. Vale, magnífico. Okay. Of course, there are other things you use with besides hello. Quite often we ask people, how are you? Even if we don't know their names, just to be polite. We ask, how are you? This is complicated by a little bit by the fact that there are this many ways to say you in Spanish. Yay. Okay, luckily for you, if you're not going to Spain, this is how many yous you need to know. Okay, yay, so we've carved it down. So if you are talking in a polite way, it will be the first thing that you see on the screen. How are you is ¿Cómo está usted? ¿Cómo está usted? ¿Cómo está usted? And you want it to sound like a question. So, watch how your voice fluctuates up and down. ¿Cómo está usted? ¿Cómo está usted? Very often, be aware, this is the formal way of asking, how are you? ¿Cómo está usted? That word usted is a formal you, okay? So when you use ¿Cómo está usted? You use ¿Cómo está usted? When you're talking to somebody you don't call by their first name. So if you're on the street with a complete stranger, you're in a store, you're meeting somebody for the first time, definitely in a business setting. Anybody that you would call by their last name because you don't really know them on a one-on-one basis, you use the formal you, which is usted. So the whole phrase, the whole question is, ¿Cómo está usted? Sometimes people will even drop the word usted. They'll drop it and they'll just say, ¿Cómo está? ¿Cómo está? Okay. Especially if they're looking you straight in the eye, they will notoriously drop the word usted and just ask, ¿Cómo está? Because if they're looking at you, it's like, can't you tell? I'm talking to you. Okay. However, if you're talking with somebody that you're on a first name basis with, if you're talking to a little kid, to a teenager on down. When people are talking to family members, they'll use what is called the familiar you, which is the word tú, which is spelled T-U. And again, it isn't generally said with this question, but the question will become, instead of ¿Cómo está usted? It'll be ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás? Instead of ¿Cómo está? Just está, that word está will have an S on the end, and it'll be ¿Cómo estás? How are you? ¿Cómo estás? That word tú, the familiar you, and we're going to come back to that in a bit, it will not even be said. It'll be ¿Cómo estás? So, the most general questions, how are you? ¿Cómo está usted? ¿Cómo estás? Okay. There are other ways of saying, how are you? Which people will just throw at you. Like, ¿Cómo le va? Literally, how's it going for you? And the ¿Cómo le va, again, is a formal, how are you doing? Literally, it's like saying, how are things going for you? ¿Cómo le va? The familiar way, instead of formal, will be ¿Cómo te va? ¿Cómo te va? How are things going for you? And that little word te means for you. How's it going for you? The little word le is a formal word of saying for you. ¿Cómo le va? So that's a different way of saying, how are you? Okay. We're working our way down to the least formal, most slangy ways of asking, how are you? At the bottom, you can see two extremely informal ways of saying, how are you doing? Oh, yeah, because in English, sometimes we say, how are you? How's it going? How you doing? What's up? Sup? We say all different things. They also say all kinds of different things, ranging from formal, ¿Cómo está usted? ¿Cómo estás? A little less formal, ¿cómo le va? ¿Cómo te va? And really informal at the bottom, ¿qué tal? ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué tal? It's a little less formal. I would say for you as a tourist, the only time you wouldn't use it is if you were in a business setting. Okay. But ¿qué tal is pretty acceptable, even with people you don't know super, super well. The bottom one, ¿qué onda?, is very, very informal, very slangy, very much used 20-somethings universally. If you're like 30-ish, 20-ish, and even if you've never met somebody before, you don't know them from Adam, they'll use ¿qué onda? ¿Qué onda? ¿Qué onda? ¿Qué onda is just like ¿qué tal?, but more slang. It literally means what wave, which makes no sense, but that's what young people typically will use to say, how you doing? ¿Qué onda? Okay. There are others besides this, but these are probably the most common ones you will use. Okay. So, okay. All right. And we're going to come back to this issue of formal you versus familiar you. Oops. En unos minutos, in a couple of minutes. Okay. So your audience of who you're talking to matters because of those three, or if you're in Spain, this many four, but we're talking about generally Latin America, 3 ways to say you. We are going to give you what the 4th way is. You just won't hear it ever, ever, ever in Latin America. So who you're talking to does matter. And how you address people, even saying, how are you, is important, because if you call somebody by their first name, or you know, you're talking to a kid, you're talking to a friend that you call by their first name, you're talking to a family member, tú is the informal you. And addressing people, how are you, ¿cómo estás, will be appropriate. If you only use somebody's last name, or you're talking to a much older person to show respect, or definitely to a boss, to a teacher, but not in our situation, because we're pretty much, you know, yeah, we're not that. You guys are not teenagers. Talking to people in stores. You walk into a store and you want help. You don't address somebody with any form that relates to tú when you go into a store or a doctor's office, or any kind of office where you're asking for help. You'll use the formal you, which is usted. Okay, so we've got tú, the familiar you, the friendly you, and usted, the formal you. And that is going to affect whether you ask how are you, just in a general greeting, as ¿cómo está versus ¿cómo estás? So you always want to be polite and address people you don't know with the formal greeting, ¿cómo está usted? Okay. In the video you're going to get on greetings later on, they kind of heavily go into the familiar you, because they are 20-somethings, and 20-somethings will almost always use the informal tú, even if they don't know each other by name. But as an adult, working in the adult world, it is considered, always err on the side of being more formal, because it signals you as I'm a polite person. And you get a better reaction from people that way by using the formal you. Okay. A ver. Okay, here comes you number 3. There is a plural you. The plural you is when you're talking to you more than one person. You're talking to 2 people, you're talking to 3 people, you're talking to 50 people, however many. If it's more than one person, it's the plural you. And the plural you is usted with an es tagged onto the end. Ustedes. Ustedes. Ustedes is the plural you. Okay. We might say in English, you guys, okay, or you all, but usually in English, we just have you. And unless you have a visual sight line on the person, you don't know if that's plural or singular. You have to know from the context of the situation. Okay, so we've got tú for people by first name or family or kids, usted to talk to people you don't know their first name, and ustedes, plural. There is a fourth one. I'm going to tell you what it is because there's always somebody who winds up going to Spain. The fourth one is vosotros. As ustedes is the plural for usted, vosotros is the plural for tú. Happily, ustedes sounds like a lot like usted, but vosotros does not sound anything like tú. But vosotros is the plural, you guys, form for tú. So in Spain, if you're talking to people that you all know pretty well, they'll use vosotros to say you guys. They do not use it in Latin America. It requires a whole different set of different verb forms, which Latin Americans do not like to use, do not normally use themselves, and so they don't bother with it. So I will often refer, or sometimes, I will not often, I will sometimes refer to vosotros, but most people will not use it very frequently, and certainly never in Latin America. Okay, some courtesy terms. When we're being polite, and being polite is always important. So if you haven't heard these, living in the Southwest, some people hear some of these, but some people don't know any of them. So we are going to go over them a little bit. Por favor. You always, you get better service when you ask please, right? Por favor. Por favor is our way of saying please. Por favor. Por favor. Por favor. The response to por favor, well, a response, the way you say thanks is gracias. Gracias. Most people around here know that because they hear it in passing with a lot of people, but gracias. And the you're welcome response is de nada. De nada, which is literally like saying, it's nothing. De nada. De nada. Bien? Okay. These last three are super golden terms, I think it is more important to know these three words than knowing por favor or even gracias. These are the ways that, these are the terms, these three at the bottom, that you use when you are approaching somebody and you want to talk to them. French does kind of a similar thing to this with, excusez-moi. When you approach somebody in Spanish, you always get the best reaction when you ask, excuse me, because you are signaling somebody, saying politely, hey, I would like to speak to you. And so they know right up ahead of time, oh, you have a question for me, strange person. So the way to ask in a formal setting, like using an usted address, is saying disculpe. Disculpe is a super important word. If I could put a great big gold star by this, I would do it. Disculpe is what you always say. It's the first word out of your mouth when you need help from somebody. Unless it's a dangerous situation, and you're about to be hit by a bus. We hope you're not in that situation, but disculpe always signals somebody that you're going to ask them a question. And it is seen as a formal and polite way to address people. So you will always get a better response when you start off your question with disculpe. If you are talking to a little kid, you could change that to disculpa, with an a sound at the end. But disculpe is the formal thing, which is what you're going to use in stores. If you can't remember disculpe, then another word you can use, which sounds very much like an English word, is perdón. Perdón. Perdón sounds like pardon. Yep, that's what it means. Perdón is pardon. And again, you can use it If your brain goes into major meltdown brain fart mode and you can't remember disculpe, then a good alternative, because it sounds like an English word and it's a nice little crutch you can use, is perdón. Perdón. Okay, perdón. Y por fin. Okay, and I will, by the way, I will send you this whole link. So you're going to get this whole file, which you will get from my email after class, and so that you don't have to write a whole bunch of notes. Ways to take your leave. There are, again, many ways to take your leave. We might say in English, bye, goodbye, later, see you tomorrow, whatever. We've got lots of ways to say goodbye, to take our leave of someone, and they do in Spanish as well. So they've got adios, which almost everybody here knows, right? Adios. But here's a very, very common thing. The second one is something that you hear a lot, especially when you know you're going to see somebody later. Let's say you rent an Airbnb and you use the same grocery store every other day, and you're going to see those little people in that little store a lot. Nos vemos. Nos vemos is literally we'll see each other, but it kind of is a less final. Adios is kind of final. Nos vemos is often when you're going to see the person at a later date, right? Nos vemos, see you later. Hasta luego, also literally see you later. Hasta mañana, see you tomorrow. You can use hasta sábado, see you Saturday. You can, plug in a day of the week. But hasta, again, hasta begins with an H. So even though it's spelled with an H, don't pronounce the H. It's just hasta, hasta. Yeah? Okay, this is going to be the link, and you're going to get this link in an email from me after class, so you don't need it. Here is how the greetings video looks. It is quite, 12 minutes, 12 minutos, 12 minutes. So they're going to print a lot of these sayings down at the bottom. There are going to be times when they get into kind of long phrases. So in this 12-minute video, I'm going to tell you when they get into sayings like, hi, I am Teodoro's teacher. Are you his dad? That's like, you don't need all that. Okay. So there are going to be, I would say maybe out of this 12 minutes, 3 minutes is probably going to wind up being some of these very, very long phrases. You can kind of fast forward through some of that. Okay. If you really want to know how to piece some of those longer things together, that's fine. But it probably won't be necessary. They're also going to go through that kiss thing when people do it. And now, of course, with COVID, that has been done less and less because people were transmitting. It's probably not great that people were transmitting, but that's what was going on. But the kiss is probably never going to go away. Once you know somebody well, and even sometimes when you're being introduced for the first time, people do the air kiss thing on both sides. And they're going to show you actually how that is done, because people will consider that to be a normal thing. So Americans do not like that because it's kind of getting in your personal space. But Hispanic culture is a very, very touchy-feely kind of culture. So do know when people approach you, even if they're meeting you as an adult and they don't know you from Adam, unless it's a business setting, they're probably going to do the kiss. Sometimes even in a business setting, they'll do the kiss. Okay. Muy bien. A ver. Okay. We're going to move on to a different topic here. Any question on that? On what we did with greetings before I move off to this? Sí o no? No? Okay. And we're going to start to put some of this together in just a little bit. We're going to go through this little primer on the use. a little bit more to see if you can recognize when we use the correct form of you. So we've got tú, we've got usted, we've got ustedes, and then there's that what the heck is vosotros. You're going to get the link to this, so you don't need to write down anything whatsoever. Just kind of be a sponge and soak it up. So Mexico, Sudamerica, you're only going to use those top three. Vosotros is only in Spain. Okay. So sometimes you're going to see usted written as UD, period. It's an abbreviation. Okay, that doesn't mean we pronounce it ud. It's still pronounced usted, just like you, when you see MR, period, you don't say mer, you say Mr., right? Okay, so if you see written out usted, it means that whole word usted, and that's always how it's pronounced. Usted and ustedes. These are the formal use, because it used to be a set of two words called vuestra merced, because, you know, in the Middle Ages, there was an upper class and a lower class, and there was no middle class. So you always spoke to somebody as they were superior, or you spoke to somebody as they were on your common or kind of level. And that speaking to the superior is where usted came from. Vuestra merced was like literally saying to somebody, your grace, you know, because some guy owned your land, you did not own land, and, you know, yeah. You had to address somebody very, very politely. So this was a cultural thing that evolved. Let's see if you can figure out which word for you will use if you're addressing these people. Now, not speaking to me particularly as a teacher, but in general, somebody, if kids were speaking to a teacher, which you would they use? Tú, usted, or ustedes?
Usted.
Usted, okay? With little kids and teenagers talking to a teacher, it's always usted. Okay. The guy next door. Tú, usted, or ustedes?
Two.
Tú. Yeah, your next door neighbor, you're probably going to address as tú, because it's less formal, okay? If I am talking to the whole group of all you guys, I'm looking out at a sea of faces. Is it tú, usted, or ustedes?
Ustedes.
Ustedes. Muy bien. Ustedes. Okay. We've got ¿cuál? Which one? Tú, usted, ustedes. You're talking to some guy who's ringing up your groceries.
Usted.
Tú, usted. I know, he's probably got a name tag, and it says me llamo Keith, me llamo Jose, me llamo Mariana. It's going to have a name, but yeah, you don't know him or her as Mariana or Tomas or Eduardo or whatever their names are. So yeah, it's always usted with people in a store setting, as they will address you as usted. Okay, the one exception to that is going to be if they see you repeatedly in the same grocery store every day, they may start addressing you as tú. So the clue is when somebody starts to talk to you using tú, that's the signal it's okay for you to do that back to him or her. People will signal once they've seen you a couple of times, if they see you regularly, podemos usar tú. When they start using tú with you, you can start using tú back with them, and it will be polite to do that. Okay. Oh, how about this one? We've got a grandma and a grandkid.
Two.
Una abuela, grandma, y una nieta, and a little grandkid. How will they talk using you? Tú. They'll use tú. There are some situations culturally, like Colombia, where people do in family use usted, but in general speaking, in general terms, speaking with family members, tú. Both to the child and the child to abuela, grandma, tú. Okay. All these little people.
Ustedes.
Ustedes. It'll be ustedes. If you were in Spain, it would be vosotros, but ustedes, okay? And here their age doesn't matter because it's more than one you, and that is what they like to use in Latin America. Ustedes, ustedes. Okay, está bien. Okay, vale. Tú, usted, ustedes. A la izquierda, the one on the left here, they're talking to this guy. They're probably inviting him in for a meeting, or they're going to interview him or something like that. How would they address him?
Usted.
Usted. In a business setting, it will always be usted to be polite. Okay. And he, speaking to these two people, is going to address them as
Ustedes.
ustedes. Ustedes. Okay. Ustedes. Ustedes. Ah, you're talking to a little kid.
Two.
Tú. Even if you don't know him, a little kid, tú is expected. Because they're a little kid. Okay. Oh, you're meeting the queen.
Usted.
Usted. Yeah. Better be. Yeah. Usted. Always usted there, of course. La reina. Okay. Okay. Solo en España. Only in Spain. If you're talking to coworkers and you know all these coworkers and you work with them all the time, it might be vosotros. But in a business setting in general, this will be ustedes because it's a more formal setting, unless you know all those people. But you know, if you were in Spain and you invited everybody over to watch football, you know, a soccer game, and all your friends are over in Spain, you would not address this group in Spain as ustedes. You would address them as vosotros, okay? But in Latin America, this whole group of your buds, you're over to have a few beers, knock back a few beers for, you know, un partido de fútbol, it would be ustedes, okay? So in Sudamérica, Latinoamérica, always ustedes. But, you know, Spain, this will be the vosotros, the buddy group. This will be ustedes, the formal you guys group. Okay, ¿está bien? Now this will come into play more, this you business, when we start using verbs. Because when you address somebody as formal you, it'll use a different verb than when you address somebody as familiar you, okay? So that will become a thing as you move on later. Okay. A ver, pregunta sí o no. ¿Sí? ¿No? ¿Nada? Okay, vale, magnífico. Okay, we're going to start with some more things that connect to greetings. How do you ask somebody's name? How do you ask somebody's name? Okay, this doesn't come into play, of course, when you're just saying good morning, but it does come into play later. When you want to ask what's your name? What's his name? Oh, oops, I jumped the gun a little bit. Hang on. Actually, I'm going to change this out just a little bit. We're going to add one extra slide. This is going to, a ver, momentito. Bear with me here. Got to get my accent mark. Got to get my different keyboard. Should have done that before class. Aquí vamos. Here we go. Okay. Vale. This is something you're going to be using next week when you come back. You're going to have a little assignment with it. The way you ask, what's your name? ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas? Just off the cuff, knowing that ¿cómo estás is familiar and ¿cómo te va is familiar. Is this a familiar way to ask what's your name or a formal way to ask what's your name?
Formal?
This is formal. Oh no, perdón, this is not formal. No. This is familiar.
Informal.
¿Cómo te llamas? And it's familiar because we've got that word te And because we've got that S sound hanging off the end, this is a familiar question. What's your name? ¿Cómo te llamas? But you're only going to use ¿Cómo te llamas if you're with kids or somebody kind of your age. Yeah. Generally, it is seen as more polite to ask ¿Cómo se llama? And they may or may not use that word usted. They may not say it. They may skip it. Notice in the question, ¿Cómo te llamas? You don't even have that word tú at all. You don't hear or see the word tú in the question, ¿Cómo te llamas? Llamas is a verb that only goes along to address the person, tú. Okay. And because llamas can only mean I'm talking tú, they don't bother to say the word tú at all. Okay, but that llamas with an S at the end word means I'm talking to you in a familiar way. Whereas once I get rid of that S sound at the end of llamas and it becomes just llama with an A sound at the end, it becomes the formal, more polite way of asking what's your name. ¿Cómo se llama usted? And again, they may drop, if they're looking you straight in the eye, they may drop the word usted. They are notorious for dropping what we call the subject pronoun, the person who's doing the action. ¿Cómo se llama usted? ¿Cómo se llama? ¿Cómo se llama? Okay. ¿Cómo se llama? So I may go through, if I'm talking to Roger and I've never met Roger before, I'm going to ask, ¿Cómo se llama? Because I'm going to perceive that I don't know him. And the answer to this, and I'm trying to figure out how to get that to move on down, is me llamo. Let's see if we can get this to move down. Mm-hmm. Nice if we didn't have all this space. Okay. ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo se llama? The response to that is me llamo. The response besides me llamo might be this. Me llamo, and your name. Me llamo, and your name. Me llamo. Or it might be mi nombre es. My name is. Or the response might be soy. Okay. Whoop. Why would I use these? Okay. Me llamo literally means I call myself. So here's lesson number 1 on, it's a really great idea not to try to translate word for word, because I call myself is if you walk up to somebody and say in English, I call myself, they'll look at you like you're kind of strange because we just don't use that. Okay. Somebody would know what you meant if you said, I call myself, but they would think, well, that's odd because it's not the general way that we express that idea. We would say my name is. But there are 3 ways in Spanish you might express this. Me llamo Marilyn. Okay. I could also say mi nombre es, my name is. That literally is my name. Mi nombre, my name. Es, is. And then your name. Mi nombre es Marilyn. I can also respond, soy Marilyn. Soy means I am. So when somebody asks you, ¿Cómo se llama? ¿Cómo se llama? You've got 3 different ways you can respond. Soy Marilyn. Me llamo Marilyn. Mi nombre es Marilyn. Any of those are okay. And people will say whichever expression they feel like at that second, whatever, however the spirit moves them, okay? But the way to talk about myself is me llamo, or soy, o mi nombre es, okay? I want everybody to try to say my name is, ¿cómo se llama? ¿Cómo se llama? ¿Cómo se llama? Somebody start, alguien. And you can use me llamo, or soy, or mi nombre es.
Soy Shelley.
Soy Shelley. Muy bien. Mucho gusto. A ver. Okay. Mucho gusto. Pleased to meet you. Mucho gusto. Okay. Mucho gusto. A ver. ¿Qué más? ¿Cómo se llama? ¿Cómo se llama? Better yet.
Es
Oh,
Shalice.
okay. Bien. Mucho gusto. Pleasure to meet you. Mucho gusto. Mucho gusto. Mucho gusto means much pleasure. It's the way we say delighted to meet you. Okay. Bien. A ver. Bueno. Shalice, I want you to ask somebody else on the pod screen what their name is.
¿Cómo se llama usted?
And we need one person who hasn't yet answered to answer.
Me llamo Mary.
Me llamo. Okay. Bien. Bueno. Mary, I'd like you to ask somebody else what their name is.
Okay. ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
And you feel that's okay. Because even though we could say this is formal, you know, now we have talked for X number of minutes, people would probably start to use tú. ¿Cómo te llamas? And I want to point one thing out. When you see that double L, and we're going to talk about this shortly, that double L will not sound like a la, 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 la. It'll sound like a ya, 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 ya. Yeah, but we'll go back to that in a minute. Okay. Bien. A ver. Okay. Una vez más, Maria, ask somebody else again.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas? Somebody answer. Alguien.
Mi nombre es Patricia.
Mi nombre es Patricia. Magnífico, Patricia. Okay, Patricia, you get to ask the last person.
¿Cómo te llamas?
And Roger, you're up. Oh, Roger can hear us. And Roger, I think you're on mute. Okay. Bien. Okay. A way to respond to that very familiarly is, you know, mucho gusto, delighted to meet you, give your name in return, that kind of thing. Okay, we're going to look very, very quickly at this idea. Me llamo means I'm talking about myself. Okay. Sometimes you are introducing other people who are with you. Okay. And when we do that, we can't introduce somebody else and say his name is or her name is with me llamo. We can't use me llamo to talk about somebody else. Okay. We need to use a slightly different form, and it's going to look like this. Se llama. It's almost like me llamo, but it's got some different vowels in there. So to talk about somebody else, it'll be not any longer me llamo, which only talks about me, but se llama, se llama, se llama. Okay? Se llama. His name is or her name is. Okay. Por ejemplo, vamos a practicar un poquito. Vamos a practicar con personas famosas. Se llama. ¿Cómo se llama? ¿Cómo se llama? What's this guy's name? ¿Cómo se llama? ¿Cómo se llama? This guy. Un voluntario, somebody that you're going to say his name is. You're going to have to start off with the little phrase right there that says his name is. Se llama. Somebody want to be brave?
No sé.
Oh, Hugh Jackman. Se llama Hugh Jackman. Se llama, you know what? It's always hard to pick people that people know. Ah, se llama Hugh Jackman. Es actor. Es actor. Okay. Ah, se llama Tom Hiddleston. Okay. A ver, let's try to pick some people you might know. Aquí. Ah, okay. I'm helping you out a little bit. ¿Cómo se llama? Se llama. Se llama Jennifer Lawrence. Sí, se llama Jennifer Lawrence. Es actriz. Ah, esta persona se llama
Scarlett Johansson.
Se llama Scarlett Johansson. Muy bien. Ah, a ver. Este hombre, this guy, this man, se llama
LeBron James.
Tom Brady. Ah, se llama LeBron James. See? Okay. Now, this goes to show you how we're going to dip our toes into this, but not scare you too much. Se llama talks about one person, not me. Oh, it could be you if it were formal, right? Te llamas would be informal. Se llama could be informal you. Se llama talks about one person, just one person, guy or gal, doesn't matter, or the formal you. His name is, her name is, se llama. But once I talk about more than one person and I say their names are, it becomes not se llama with an A at the end, but se llaman with an N at the end, se llaman. So if I talk about both of them together, it will now become se llaman Tom Brady y LeBron James. Bien. Se llama una persona, ¿verdad? Se llama Tom Brady. Se llama LeBron James. Se llaman, their names are. Se llaman Tom Brady y LeBron James. Okay? Está bien. A ver. No, you probably don't know this. Oh, you may not know these. Ah, ¿cómo se llaman? What are their names? ¿Cómo se llaman? Se llaman Shakira y J-Lo. Bien? See? If I just talk about Shakira, se llama Shakira. See? If I just talk about J-Lo, se llama J-Lo. But now I talk about them together, more than one person. Se llaman. Se llaman. Okay? Se llaman Shakira y J-Lo. Bien? ¿Vale? Okay. A ver. Oh, and this is for the young crowd, for my teenagers. Okay. So, bueno, a ver. What I would like you to do next week is come on screen. And when we start class, you're going to introduce yourself and say, hi, I'm, fill in your name. Pick any way to say, hi, I am blah, blah, blah. And then I want you to bring a picture or bring your favorite stuffed animal, or lo que sea, whatever it is. And you're going to come on, and after you introduce yourself, you're going to say, esta mujer, this woman, es joven. Ella, her name, ella se llama Allie. So bring a picture of, I don't know, friend, family member, lo que sea, whoever it is. You're going to talk about yourself first. Me llamo. Buenos días. Buenos días. Me llamo Marilyn. Esto es mi amiga. Es mi amiga. Se llama Allie. Mi amiga se llama Allie. My friend's name is Allie. Mi amiga se llama Allie. Bien? Vale. So you're going to come and introduce somebody. When teenagers did this, they did it with often stuffed animals because they were too shy to show a picture. So yeah, that works. Okay, let's try just a little bit more of this to get comfortable. Momentito, I just need to do a little adjustment here. Ok. Bueno, clase. Vamos a ver. ¿Cómo se llama? ¿Cómo se llama? What's his name?
Dr. Fauci?
Dr. Fauci. Now, we could say Dr. Fauci, but we're going to say his name is Dr. Fauci. So we're going to add,
El?
we're going to add, oh, and I'm going to give you a clue by showing you the screen. ¿Cómo se llama? What's his name or what's her name? And the magic formula is going to be, when we
llama.
talk about that person, we're going to have to include this two-word chunk, this two-word phrase. And that's how we're going to say his name is. ¿Cómo se llama?
Se llama Dr. Fauci.
Se llama Dr. Fauci. Se llama, sí, bien. ¿Cómo se llama?
Se llama,
Llama Wilson.
Se llama Will Smith. We're going to give you a little more context now too. We're going to add some extra information so you start to get comfortable with this word es. Es just means he is or she is. Again, like se llama talks about one person, es talks about a single human being, okay? I'm going to use some cognates, meaning words that sound like English words you already know, to give you a little bit of information about this person. ¿Cómo se llama? Se llama Will Smith. Se llama Will Smith. Es actor. Es un actor muy famoso. He's an
Very
actor.
famous actor.
He's a very famous actor. Okay. Vale, magnífico. ¿Cómo se llama? ¿Cómo se llama? Se llama Serena.
Williams.
Se llama Serena Williams. Es una jugadora de tenis. Es una jugadora de tenis. Es muy rica. She's very rich. Es muy rica. Es muy rica. She's very rich. Es una jugadora de tenis. Ok, a ver, otra vez. ¿Cómo se llama? Se llama Tom Brady, ¿sí? Es un jugador famoso de fútbol americano. Fútbol americano no es fútbol. Hay fútbol, soccer, y hay fútbol americano. ¿Entienden? ¿Understand?
yes.
La diferencia. Hay gran diferencia. Hay gran diferencia entre el fútbol, soccer, y el fútbol americano, ¿no? ¿Bien? Ok. Vale. Bueno. ¿Cómo se llama? I really should put this in past tense. But we're not going to do that yet. ¿Cómo se llama? Se llama
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Bader Ginsburg, sí. RBG. Es jueza. I would have to put it in past eran, but we'll keep it in present. Es jueza de la Corte Superior de Estados Unidos. Es jueza. She's a
Judge.
Okay. When you see United States abbreviated, by the way, you will not see it abbreviated in Spanish as USA. You'll see it abbreviated this way. E-E-U-U. Estados Unidos. Estados Unidos means United States. States United, literally. Estados, States Unidos, United. Okay. Vale, bien. Okay. ¿Cómo se llama? Mandalorian. If you've not watched The Mandalorian, go watch that. Okay. ¿Cómo se llama? ¿Cómo se llama? Ah, se llama Bebé Yoda. O Grogu. En el programa The Mandalorian. Bien. Ah, ¿cómo se llama? ¿Cómo se llama?
Meryl Streep.
Se llama Meryl Streep. Se llama Meryl Streep. Es actriz. Es actriz. Es norteamericana. Es norteamericana. I want you to get used to one of two words, and either one is okay, to talk about being a United States person. And it is one of these two terms. Well, for her, because she's a female, I have to use the word norteamericana with an A at the end. Norteamericana. If you were a male person, I would use norteamericano, which sure looks a lot like North American, yeah? Norteamericano, okay? Vale? Norteamericano. This is one term we can use to say that you're a United States person. We say American. Ojo, watch out. Please don't ever, traveling south of the border, use Americano to describe where you're from. Big no-no to describe yourself. You will offend people quite literally if you say soy americano. It will be considered, they probably won't say it to your face, but it will be considered somewhat offensive. The reason for that is because we are all Americanos. And it is considered to be kind of haughty and arrogant to refer to yourself as Americano when what you really mean is that you're from the United States. So you can either use the term norteamericana, feminine, or norteamericano, masculine, or this term, which I know is going to sound hideous and long. Oh. But it is accurate. Estadounidense. That is a mouthful. So the best way to learn this word is to learn it as if it were two words. Okay? And here is why people avoid using this word, even though it's considered correct and polite and accurate. It means a US citizen. It means what we say here, American, but it means US citizen. Estado unidense, because it goes back to that term for our country. Estados, states, unidos, united. Estados Unidos is United States. So a person who is from this place is called Estado Unidense. And when they say it really fast, it's going to sound like this, Estadounidense. But you're not going to say it that fast because you're learning it. So you're going to take it apart into two words like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, okay? So we're going to all try just the word Estado. Estado, todos. Estado. Repitan, por favor. Estado.
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 And that D is going to sound more like a Estado. Estado. Yeah. That D doesn't, it sometimes gets kind of a hard D sound, but not always. Estado. And then the second half is unidense. 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 People are afraid of this word. This is both a masculine and a feminine form. So yay, you don't have to think about what they call gender, meaning male or female referring terms. It's always going to be this, whether you're a guy or a gal. Estadounidense. Estadounidense. I want everybody to try it again with me. Estadounidense. So the way you say I'm American is soy estadounidense. Soy estadounidense. Or you're afraid of it? Okay. Soy norteamericana. Soy norteamericano. You've got an exit. right? If you feel tongue-tied with estadounidense. But it is a great, great term to use because they will use it with you. And they will expect that, you know, you kind of get used to that. So, but it is all one great big word. So when you see it and when you hear it, it's going to be the one great big long word, estadounidense, estadounidense. But just so that you know, para que sepan, so that you know, when you practice this word, estadounidense, right? Take it apart into two words, and that will be easier for you to get used to that term. Because quite often when you travel, people will ask where you're from, okay? They're going to ask this question. They're going to ask, ¿de dónde es? ¿De dónde es? Or if they know you really well and they're talking to you in a tú form, ¿de dónde eres? Like como estás or como te llamas is familiar, informal, familiar. ¿De dónde eres is informal, familiar. ¿De dónde eres? Where are you from? Okay. But if you ask, not knowing that person's first name, being polite, the question will be phrased as, ¿de dónde es? They may add the word usted. They may skip the word usted. ¿De dónde es usted? ¿De dónde es? Where are you from? Okay. Bien? We good so far?
Sí.
Sí? Bien? Okay. Muy bien. A ver. Bueno. Okay. So when you come in next week, you're going to start off with buenos días. Me llamo Marilyn. Me llamo Marilyn. Mi amiga se llama, or mi amigo se llama, and you're going to name your person. Mi amiga se llama Allie. Okay. If you can, try to throw in a soy de and tell where you're from. I'll mark this all off in the email I send it you at the end of class. Soy de, I'm from. And you can use a city, you can use a state, you can use a country, whatever. Okay. Bien. Vale. Okay. ¿Alguna pregunta? Any questions?
No.
No. Okay. Let's take a quick look at some pronunciation. I'm going to send you a pronunciation page, and we're going to go through just vowels. Ooh. And I shorted myself a little on time, but that's okay. You're going to get a copy of this. You will get a copy of this via email, so you do not need to copy or write any of this down. But hopefully you did watch the video. And the video was, no, ¿dónde está? ¿Dónde está? Hopefully you watched this video from Super Holly. If you didn't, go back and look at it. I've got the link in my last week video. This tells you about pronunciation. We're going to step through a few letters every week, okay? But we're going to start with some of the vowels today, because once you know how to pronounce vowels in Spanish, you've got like 70% of the game conquered for pronunciation, literally. That easy. Spanish is a very phonetic language. What you see is what you say. Most letters, not all, but most letters can only be pronounced this many ways. That's it, most. Some aren't, but vowels generally have only one sound. So we're going to go through the vowel sounds with the time we've got till 11 o'clock right now, because that will get you started on on how each vowel sounds, okay? This first letter is, so we're going through A-E-I-O-U vowels, and A-E-I-O-U and Y. We're going to include Y in it. A-E-I-O-U, A-E-I-O-U. The letter A is always going to make that sound and only that sound. A. It will never make a difference. It will never sound like A, It will never sound like that. English has many, many, many different possible pronunciations for the letter A. And that vowel A, whether it carries an accent or not, it does not matter. It always sounds like A, and father. So we're going to try a few of these words together. Okay, a few of these words together. And next week, when you come back in, I'm going to send you out into smaller groups to practice together with a partner. Okay, just on these vowel sounds. But once you've got the vowel sounds down, literally 70% of the game over. Okay, you can you can pronounce a lot of words just by knowing the vowels. So I want you to try maybe 5 or 6 of these with me now. We're going to look at the first few here. Okay, we're going to look at words like cama. Repitan, por favor, cama.
Cama.
Cama, cama. Bien, cama. Okay, drama.
Drama.
Drama. Okay. The tendency is for people to anglicize these, and you want to try to, I'm trying to pick a lot of words that will be short and easy to pronounce, but pronounce them as they should be in Spanish, not as you may say drama. That's not it. It's drama. Drama. Okay. Planta.
Planta.
Planta, magnifico, planta. The way you say open something is abra,
Abra.
abra, abra. The word for map is mapa,
Papa.
mapa. Bien? The word for this thing right here is gafas, gafas. In other countries, they tend to use a different word for eyeglasses, but this is one. Gafas, gafas, gafas. Bien. Okay. So A is always A. Whenever you see or hear that sound, it can only be spelled that way. Okay. A ver. Bien. Bueno. E. We're going to look at the letter E. La letra E. La letra E. That's the name of the letter E. And that's the sound it always makes. E. There is no other sound it can possibly make but E. It's not really A, it's not really it's E. E. A comes from way back here. A. Okay. E comes from slightly higher up. E. E. Okay. E. Let's try some words with E. Pelo.
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 Bien, pelo. Cable.
Cable.
Centro.
Centro.
Centro. Okay. Este.
Este.
Breve.
Breve.
And we're going to take this one here because it's a common word, verde.
Verde.
And when you see or hear the letter V, it will sound not like V, it will sound like ve, ve, ve. These are going to sound like bees. Okay, because you're going to see a lot of things that have ve in them. Okay, la letra I. I. The letter I is pronounced I. This letter is called I in Spanish. It is not E, it's I. Vowels in Spanish are shorter, okay? So whereas we sometimes draw or drag out English vowels a lot, you know, A, I, O, they're shorter in Spanish. A, E, I. I, A comes from way back here. E sits kind of at the top of your palate. E is way up here. E, I, but not dragged out. I, short, I, okay? We're gonna try I with these words. Libre,
Libre.
libre, free. Gris.
Gris.
Gris means gray. Sí
Sí.
means yes. Mi.
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 Mi means my. Pinta.
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 Pinta means somebody's painting. And we're going to look at this one. Privado.
Privado.
Privado. Privado, private. Okay. Next vowel we're going to look at is la letra O. And O will sound like a long O, but we keep it short. Okay. So A starts way back in your throat here. A, E, I, O. We're coming out to the front part of the mouth. O. O. Okay. But keep it short. So we're going to look at the word gorro.
Gorro.
And don't worry if you can't roll an R yet. Gorro.
Gorro.
Gorro. Bien. We're going to look at the word below it, which means balloon. Globo.
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 Globo. Bien. Okay. We're going to look at the word below that, to cost. Costar.
Costar.
Costar. We're going to look, and I should change this from height to length. That'll be confusing. This word here, corto.
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 Corto. Bien. Okay. We're going to look at this word here, lobo.
Lobo.
Lobo. Okay. We're going to look at the word for sun, sol.
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 Sol. Sol. Okay. Bien. Y la letra U. 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 Most of the time, 90% of the time, sounds like U. There are some situations where U becomes silent, some, but we're not going to look at that today. Most of the time, U sounds like the U of moon. So we started way in the back here. A, E, I, O, U. U. Okay? U of moon, but shorter. U. So we've got the word for blue, azul.
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 Azul. Bien? And a Z will sound like an S. Azul. Azul.
Azul.
Azul. Okay. We got the word for like the peak of a mountain. Cumbre.
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 Cumbre. We've got a word that means pen. Pluma.
Pluma.
Pluma. We've got the mucho gusto. Delighted to meet you. Gusto.
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 Gusto. Okay. We've got the word burro.
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 Burro. Okay. We've got the word cubre.
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 Cubre. We've got the word puro.
Puro.
Puro. Okay. Bien, vale. And we're going to look at the Y. Y is their word for Y. The word Y. Some places do call it Y. Some countries do. But Y. Y means Greek I. I don't know why they call the letter that, but they do. Y might get two different sounds. And which sound Y makes depends on where Y falls in the word. If the Y is the very last letter of the word, okay, if you see a word written down, and it's got an Y hanging off the end, it's going to sound just like this E sound. It'll sound just like that, just like the E sound. Exactly like that. So words that end in a letter Y, Y, will sound like this. I. The word for there is, there are. I. Okay. The word for today, hoy. Because we ignore the H, right? So I'm going to look at those again. We ignore the H. We've got the word I, meaning there is or there are. We've got the word hoy, which just means today. We've got the word muy, which you'll hear a lot, which means very. And the word cuy, which is a guinea pig, which they eat down in Peru. Yeah, it's supposed to taste like chicken. Yeah, we'll see. If Y is not the last letter of a word, if it's in the beginning, if it's in the middle, any place that's not the tail end, it will sound like the y you're used to in English, okay? The y like yellow, okay? So we've got words like mayo, mayo, mayo. We've got the word for beach, playa, playa. We've got the word for Mayan, maya. Mhm. And we've got the word for yesterday, ayer,
Ayer.
ayer, okay? Ayer. And so I will be sending this pronunciation page to you. It's going to have all the letters. Don't feel you have to know all the sounds. We're going to review next week all the vowels and send you off to do separate practice with all the vowels, okay? So do print this page out before next week's class. We'll go through these. We're going to cover the che, the de, the h, the j, and the ly. So you may want to look a little ahead of time at these. We will actively practice those next week. You're actually going to be practicing this ly right away with me llamo. Me llamo, me llamo, me llamo. Does that sound? I will probably send you a separate video just on that ly, that double L, because it's a sound that, well, we don't spell that sound that way with a double L in English. So I'll probably send you an extra video that will help you over the hump a little bit with that letter ly, that double L. It is separate from the single L in Spanish. It is a separate letter of the alphabet. So those will be the ones that are kind of oddball sounds outside of the vowels are ones that we will try to cover next week. Okay, vale, ¿está bien? We good?
Sí.
Bien? Okay, vale. I will be sending you later this afternoon an email that will have the link to this video. It will list what I would like you to work on through the week, the videos I would like you to watch, and what you should come prepared to do for the week. But do make sure that you have the book, that you've read all through chapter 1. If you have a chance to scoot through and read through chapter 2, it really won't take you all that long to go through chapter 2 if you have time to, but if you don't, no worries. Okay, está bien. ¿Hay alguna pregunta? Is there any question that you might have? ¿Sí o no?
No.
¿No? Ok, vale, muy bien. Nos vemos, I'll see you guys, nos vemos la semana viene, la próxima semana, next week, la próxima semana, nos vemos, we'll see each other. ¿Está bien?
Está bien.
And feel perfectly free to email me at if you have any questions as you're doing things through the week from the assignments. ¿Sí? ¿Está bien?
Sí. Gracias.
Magnífico. De nada, de nada, de nada. Es un placer. It is a pleasure. Nos vemos.
Adiós.
Adiós.